Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. This is the Lost Franklin Expedition by Maritime Horrors. I am joined here by Wet Tent himself. Do you want to say hello to the beautiful people back at home, Wet Tent there?
Hello community. Hello Homelanders.
Homeland? What the fuck? Holy shit.
We're learning today.
Are we learning today?
A nautical feat of tenacity, I think.
Tenacity.
Maybe describe it.
That's right, that's right.
The Franklin expedition. Yeah, they certainly didn't have an easy go.
No, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the expedition that went to the far north, right? This is the one that got held up, let's say. I think I've heard this event referenced, but I've not seen like a proper like thing on it before. Shackleton?
Like there's Ernest Shackleton's story.
Right.
That is widely popular for the most part, and it was just like terror. Yeah. Is I think an okay way to describe it, but from what I know, the Franklin's expedition was like an Arctic exploration expedition that the British led. Right. And the captain's name, I guess, was Franklin. And they were, I think, something to do with the Northwest Passage and like unexplored places in the Canadian Arctic. Yeah, they were like some of the first explorers to actually try to go chart the area out or something to that degree. I'm not entirely too certain. Obviously, let's not misspeak. We're obviously going to check out a video all about it, so let's not misspeak too much here. But yeah, no, I'm excited to check this one out. Maritime Horrors. I have seen, I think, one or two of this guy's videos before in the past. I know he makes great content. I have not seen this particular video by him, I guess I should say. 1.3 million views 4 years ago, so it came out a while ago. We'll leave a like, we'll subscribe there, obviously. And yeah, if you guys enjoy, make sure you do the same. Leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and of course, leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Let's get some love for Wet Tent in here, you know? You love to see him when he's here, you know? And oh yeah, of course. And of course, big shout out to all of our members, all of our Hastati, and our Principes, Dagenhart, Fear, and Hobbit. I appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day. And with that, yeah, let's get right into this video. I think we'll make sure captions are on there. Quality is good, full screen. Let's get it. If you want me to pause, by the way, let me know. Sounds good.
The year is 1845. The corners of the globe are all but filled in. Great strides have been made in the field of global exploration in the last few hundred years. But one final monolithic effort is all that remains. One last 1,000-mile stretch of coastline remained in the Canadian Arctic. The Holy Grail, the Northwest Passage. But this milestone would not go easily, and would become the grave of numerous British sailors.
I will say right off the bat too, 1845, eh? Like I don't think we gave that enough credence. Like this is pretty early for like Arctic expeditions. Like you don't fucking go there, you know what I mean? At this time period.
Fair, the fact that this was the only area left uncharted by that time is also pretty insane. Yeah,
like but it just goes to show too just how like woefully unprepared you'd be for like the Arctic environment in 1845. Like we go there nowadays and we almost need modern equipment to make it habitable or to even like survive for any length of time there. And these guys are going up there with like fucking ship's biscuits and a wooden sailing ship, you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of insane, right? Like,
well, 180 years ago,
you know, you're wearing animal pelts to fucking keep you warm. Like that's literally what you're doing.
Yeah,
so
now people shy away from having real goose.
Yeah, true.
And real fur in their Arctic jackets, right? So it's like it's just crazy to go from that to that, and what's really not that long of a time period.
No, and also polar bears everywhere, predators fucking just everywhere. During this time, I imagine polar bears just fucking littered the area, like you know how many they're already are there now, right? Like there's tons of them up there already. As much as people want to say like, oh, they're dying out, sure they are to an extent, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there's still a lot of fucking polar bears up there, man. Like they're everywhere. They're a commonality up there. So in this time period, man, shit. You make land anywhere. Yeah, you make land anywhere, you're probably getting mauled. Let's keep going here.
Well, maybe they mentioned something about it.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Become the grave of numerous British sailors. The mythic Northwest Passage a route deeply sought after by the British Admiralty, a route from the Atlantic to the Pacific through the Canadian Arctic. Finding such a route would mean
also kind of crazy that you can like sail through there.
Horn to reach the Pacific. Theoretically, a route from England to China could be made, making trade far more profitable. The link was of the utmost importance to the Admiralty, who, through the early 1800s, launched numerous expeditions both by land and sea to attempt to map a route, meeting with varying levels of success, but hadn't quite found the missing link. The uncharted area of the Arctic was down to 180,000 square kilometers, or 70,000 square miles. They planned for one final expedition, a route west through Lancaster Sound, then south and west through a distance of around 1,670 kilometers, or 1,040 miles. A journey that would be none too easy, but would surely spell fame and glory to whomever completed it. But to whom would go the honor? It wouldn't be a light decision for the Admiralty to make. Sir John Barrow was the second secretary to the Admiralty, and the man in charge of raising the expedition. At 82 years old, he was keen on seeing the passage forced, as a final achievement in his career. So who to lead it? The first man pegged for the job was...
Imagine him trying to lead it himself. Fucking like what?
Perry. Perry, a Welsh-English captain born in 1790 in Bath, Somerset, England...
I will say too, like the risks of this, like, again, icebergs, fucking, you know, ultra cold weathers. I'm sure like ultra cold weather, the weather itself subject to change at any moment, you know, and not by a little bit.
Like the window that they have to sail where the weather is
like acceptable.
Fair, is quite short in comparison to that of the southern.
Do you know what? Do you know what season it'd be?
2 months maybe, and I think they'd be doing it in summer.
Summer, yeah, right? Probably like summer. It'd make more sense, right?
Late spring to midsummer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the exact season they would do it in, but yeah, it would definitely be like a short, like 2-3 month period that you'd actually be able to do this, because otherwise, like, fuck, you're just running the risk of just grounding yourself, like, unironically, especially at this time period. You don't have modern instruments, you know.
Well, that's crazy to think too, like, while we're paused, is that only 80 or so years later, which really, like, the gentleman who was set to plan this was only 80 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, only 80 years old. That's pretty fucking old.
Yeah, but 80 years, like that's, you know, the average lifetime.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
80 years later, all of this was being done in a much faster, more economic way. That's a really short time. Like you know, transcontinentally flying.
Well, this was the 40s.
This was the 1840s. Yeah. 40s. But in 1940s,
so
like you were
in 80 years, it's a World War I already, right? So you got to think like dreadnoughts, battleships fucking exist at this point, from like wooden sailing ships, like quite literally is the best you have. Ironclads maybe, but those aren't going on expeditions.
No. Just like the sheer perspective of how fast the progress was made.
Oh, yeah.
Like even just 40 years, 50 years from 1845 to 1925.
Well, like, submarines too. Like submarines fucking exist, man. Like it's kind of nuts. Like by World War I, like so 60 years later, the 1900s, like you got fucking submarines. Like vessels capable of going under the water, which is just like unfounded at that time. Like, you know what I mean? Like who could have assumed, right? Wow. I don't know. What a wild jump. Yeah, let's keep going here.
Perry, a Welsh-English captain born in 1790 in Bath, Somerset, England, was the man who set the record in 1827 as the farthest north traveled, reaching 82 degrees 45 minutes north, a record that wouldn't be beaten until 1875, nearly 50 years later.
Wow.
He completed 4 expeditions in his time of service to the Royal Navy, from 1803 to 1855, but politely declined Sir Barrow's request, stating plainly that he was simply tired of the Arctic.
That's fair.
The next choice was Sir James Clark Ross, born 15 April...
So I want to say real quickly there, like, you notice, like, these guys, right? They're all, like, career Navy men. Like, served from 1803 to 1855. Like, these people are doing it 50, 60 years of their life, like straight up. Like these are dedicated people. Like I have to give credence to like the people of that time period. Like these sailors, they normally, like this wasn't just like a job for them. Like this was like, like you're living at sea permanently, basically. Like, like much how like the, you know, I guess the military Navy wise is today, where you're only, I say only, you're spending like 6-7 months potentially. Out at sea. But this is like completely different to that. This is like you like a voyage across the ocean is going to take you like a year. You know what I mean?
And the fact that like all these guys that were career Navy sailors didn't want to do this expedition also. Maybe make some sort of point there as to how intense it would be. And
then the Arctic too, like that guy, he's just tired of the Arctic. Like, I mean, there's nothing there, dude. Like, you're just doing it to do it. Like, you're famous, whatever have you, but like, who the fuck? You know, and respectfully, like, but this actually makes sense.
Very well.
In this case, it makes sense because it's opening up a trade route. But just to go north, just to say you did it and lived, like, fuck, I don't know.
Giggles, let's go all the way up there, shall we?
Like, crazy mindset, man. I don't know.
Their next choice was Sir James Clark Ross, born 15 April 1800 in Finsbury Square, London. Sir Ross was an Arctic explorer if there ever was one. In his 50 years in the Royal Navy by the time of his death, Sir Ross had completed 6 Arctic and 1 Antarctic expedition. Prior to 1845, he had been the captain of HMS Erebus, one of the 2 vessels that was chosen to be used for this expedition. He used this vessel to explore and map large swaths of the Antarctic from 1839 to 1843. But when approached, he declined. The newly married captain...
Everyone's just saying no.
He had sworn to his wife...
I'm good.
...done with the dangerous expeditions to the Arctic. Barrow's third choice was a young commander, James Fitzjames.
Got a wife, why would I want to die?
Choice on the surface. Born 27 July 1813 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Fitzjames was only 31 years old when Barrow attempted to mark him as the captain of the expedition.
That is an odd choice.
But he was a remarkable young naval officer. Being of possibly illegitimate birth, he set out at a young age.
What the fuck does that mean?
Joining the Navy at 12, he rose through the ranks quickly with great wit and daring bravado. During the Egyptian and Ottoman War, he boldly entered an enemy encampment at night alone to issue them a proclamation, bringing great risk upon himself. Later on during the First Opium War, he led an assault on the walled city of Zhangjiang, where he very nearly lost his life to a Chinese sharpshooter. A musket ball passing through his arm and into his chest stopped only against his spine. He was known as a daring and brave officer, but it has been hypothesized that he did so to try and live beyond his illegitimate origins.
So, and like, I have to say too, again, credence these guys, they're entering the service at like, not like 17, 18, at like fucking 10, 11, 12. Fuck, I've heard some boys as young as like 7. They start sailing on these ships.
Regardless of his illegitimacy, the fact that he joined
this guy's kind of a badass.
Royal Navy at 12 years old and dedicated his entire life. At that point, like, you would think all of that.
Well, who cares, right?
Is vain.
Yeah, because like that's the thing, right? At this time period, you're looking at mass discrimination, especially for officer ranks. If you're not of like royal birth or of like legitimate upbringing, let's say. So like, and also he himself from Rio de Janeiro, so he's Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that already is kind of like a like an oof on his behalf during this time period,
for
right?
The Royal Navy.
Yeah, for the Royal Navy at this point, right? Like, obviously not today. I'm not saying they discriminate today, but you know, back in the day, that was totally
back in the East India Company.
That was a thing of contention. But this guy served with distinction, like in quite a few wars. Was that Africa and China?
The Opium War,
yeah. So he he's done some shit, like, you know, and these people saw the world. Like, that's why you did it, I think, too. A big reason of why you did it, because it's the only way to get out of a fucking city or village to like actually see what the fuck is out there yourself, right? It's the only way to do that. So, but no, what an interesting character.
People still, it is the same.
Well, true. But I guess well, you can obviously, like, nowadays you can search up a picture of what the world looks like, but back in the day, it's like you know, you had no idea what was outside of your 30-kilometer range around your city village unless you traveled or you got a job to make you travel, right? Really, the military or the merchant navy, that was the only 2 options to actually get out there and see the world at those times, right? There wasn't really anything else that allowed you to do it. Colonial officers maybe, but again, you had to be really somebody to do those types of jobs at that point, right? So just interesting character though. Like the figures of this time are just so like just wild to me. Like, you don't see shit like this anymore.
It's been hypothesized that he did so to try and live beyond his illegitimate origins. It was during this time in Singapore that James met Sir George Barrow, John Barrow's oldest son. It's unclear what exactly occurred, but apparently Fitzjames paid off individuals to cover up a rather embarrassing event involving Sir George. Owing to this, John Barrow took great interest in Fitzjames' career.
An embarrassing event.
Fast-tracked the young officer to many rank advancements and elevated positions. He was made captain of his own vessel at the age of only 29.
Fuck.
But as much as the Admiralty would go along with any of Sir John Barrow's blatant favoritisms towards Fitzjames, they would not acquiesce with his appointment, stating he simply wasn't experienced enough for the job. The next obvious choice for the job was Captain Francis Rawdon Moira Crozier. Born of simple
What a
origins
name.
on the 17th of September 1796, he was born in Bainbridge, County Down in the Kingdom of Ireland. A good personal friend of Sir James Clark Ross, Captain Crozier was as much an Arctic man as he was. Having completed 6 Arctic and Antarctic expeditions in his 38 years in the Royal Navy, he was captain of HMS Terror during Captain Ross's
What a name.
Antarctic expedition just 2 years before.
That's kind of baller.
Captain Crozier was built to lead this expedition. But there was a catch that saw the Admiralty not choosing him. He was Irish, and of lower to middle class. The British...
Can you imagine even worse? Even worse than Brazilian, even worse than South American? Irish at this time.
In the Navy's eyes, that's crazy.
That's fucking wild. That's wild. Speak the same language, but God, he's not the same religion. Fuck him. Fuck him. Swine, you know what I mean? Yeah, but like again, at this point, like you have to remember it's all but isn't that so wild? Like they're right beside you as a nation, always have been, but you're gonna favor somebody from across the world in heritage, right? And this is a backwards way of thinking of it in general, especially like I'm just trying to perceptualize at this time, right? But again, it's obviously due to their culture, due to their religious differences, right? Yeah. Whereas in South America, they actually share the same values largely, let's say, I guess you could say, right?
Well,
to a degree, right? If you're talking about religion at this point, I think the big difference in Ireland to England, right, was Protestantism Catholic, right? Or I could be wrong. Insular Catholic. I forget. I'm not really too much of a history buff on that. I'm going to be completely honest, but I know there was a big religious like difference. That was a major cause of it, right? I don't want to speak too much on it, but
as a salute to Captain Crozier dealing with prejudice, I shall crack a drink.
Of course, yeah, and his Irish good name.
He was Irish and of lower to middle class upbringing.
Crazy.
The British didn't want the man who forged the link to make that final great journey to be an Irishman. So thus he was made second in command.
Radical, man.
Second in command.
So radical.
Sir John Barrow's 5th choice, Sir John Franklin. Now, this isn't to say that Franklin was a poor captain in any right.
This guy looks the least like fit out of all of them, I'll be honest.
Of naval experience, having joined up
just like physically, you know what I mean?
Born on April 16th, 1786 to a well-to-do family.
Oh, he's old.
He was the only of his siblings to enter naval service. He rose through the ranks while participating in several wars, such as the French Revolutionary War, Napoleonic War, and the War of 1812.
Wow.
He also participated in 2 major Arctic expeditions. Though prior to this, he was perhaps most famous.
Can you imagine fighting in the fucking Napoleonic Wars at sea, right? So you're fighting literally Napoleon's forces, like the remnants of his forces, and then you're fighting over in the War of 1812.
It's crazy
in
to think
America.
That he fought through the whole shift, like the French Revolution,
the
Napoleonic War, and then the War of 1812. He literally, like, the entire shift that affects
like he
later society as it is now. This guy was in the fucking middle of who knows what his actual position was. Like,
you're probably at that point you're probably just some like officer, like I would say gunnery officer or something to that degree. At that point, like he's probably pretty low rank, but to even still be there and to see all that and then to eventually assume command of a ship. You know, like, again, like I have to give credence. Like these people did this for fucking all their life, like unironically. Basically.
I do want to point out while we're looking at them, as far as deportment goes.
That's what I said. Like this guy looks like the least fucking physically like fit and like on compared to the rest of them. Everyone else, proper dress and deportment. This guy looks a little slacked out. I'll be completely honest. Like, look at that collar, guy. That collar is fucked up. Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed. Look at these badges, dude. Like, that's like fucking sideways, not even pinned on properly. I feel bad, like, talking shit, but
maybe the buttons up
maybe hey,
the badges are like that for a reason, and the color's all fucked up.
No, obviously, I don't know dress and deportment of the Royal Navy at this time. Perhaps he's doing it correctly, but goddamn.
Major Arctic
either way.
So prior to this, he was perhaps most famous for the 1819 copper mine expedition. A tremendous failure of an expedition over northern Canada that resulted in the death of 11 out of 20 of his men. They perished from starvation, and the few only survived by eating the leather from their boots. Franklin thusly was nicknamed the man who ate his own boots, a rather embarrassing black mark on his record.
Damn.
After this, he was appointed lieutenant governor to Van Diemen's Land, what would be known as modern-day Tasmania. But despite his few...
Can you imagine, like just straight up, like, 11 of your 20 crew starving to death, you come back to port, your expedition is ravaged, like, completely fucked, and you just get, like, shamed for it publicly, and everyone just thinks you're a bitch because you failed? Like, can you, like, isn't that crazy?
Eating your own boots.
That's also true. But, like, can you, like, just imagine how crazy that is. It's like, if you fail, you're looking at a lifetime of shame. If you don't die out there yourself. Like, quite literally.
Yeah, but I think the British were so dire for this passage to be...
Like, they needed anybody that would do it. That's the problem. Like you already had two guys that refused.
So much money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were becoming so rich through the East India Company.
East India Company, even B&A,
like,
right?
If we secure this northwest passage to China, our profits... Fucking, you know that meme where it's like that weird looking dude that goes stonks?
Yeah.
Like, simply, dude,
oh yeah,
so much money.
Oh yeah, like, well, and even
this Arctic passage
again, like with Canada being right there, do you still in the 1840s, right? You know, obviously our timber, our lumber, all the fur trade still in full swing at this point, right? Like, it has the fur trade has died down, but oh yeah, true. Whale, even
steel alone, whale, like,
yeah.
You know, they're just like, oh, look at all this shit up here. We gotta get our boats there.
So much oil, blubber.
Sir John Franklin. We know you had that.
You fucked up once, but
yada yada yada.
Redeem yourself. Yeah. But isn't this guy, like, again, like, he's got to be like, I don't know if they said his age. He's got to be like 70 at this point doing this shit. Like,
he's
straight up,
dude.
I get, but like, fuck, like, he could fall on the deck and fucking.
He probably fucking hated the Irish too, so he's gonna constantly fight with his
this guy's gonna get punched and he's gonna be bruised for 9 months. Like, that's the age we're talking about here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not fit to fucking lead an Arctic expedition. Like, I'm just saying, like, the 30-year-old, yeah, he's inexperienced, but at least he won't fucking die of hypothermia in 2 minutes. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but I'm just saying, like, from that perspective, I don't know. Whatever. Let's keep watching.
He would be known as modern-day Tasmania. But despite his failings, he was known to his men as very kind and caring for their well-being.
Well, that's good, actually.
He was deeply religious and would often lead sermons for his crew and pray with them.
Wow.
This expedition was seen as an opportunity for Franklin to make up for past mistakes and leave a large name upon the map. So it was selected Sir John Franklin would lead.
It's not in the way he wanted.
His second in command would be Francis Crozier, captaining the HMS Terror, and finally James Fitzjames would be the commander of the HMS Erebus. The vessels selected for the expedition were the very best for the job. The Erebus was a Hecla-class bomb vessel, repurposed for Arctic expedition. Having been built in 1826 in Pembroke dockyards in Wales, she was 105 feet long.
What beautiful ships.
Beam. She was crewed by 67 sailors, and in her Navy days was armed with 2 heavy mortars and a complement of 8 24-pounder guns and 2 6-pounder guns.
That fucks.
She was used almost exclusively for expeditions, though, participating in Ross's Antarctic expedition. Her sister ship was the HMS Terror, and was a good deal older and had more service. Commissioned in 1813 as a Vesuvius-class bomb vessel, she was a very similar size and armament. She participated in the War of 1812.
The naming conventions back in the day were so sick. I just want to be honest. Like, why can't we go back to that, dude? Terror, like Vesuvius class. Like, what the fuck, dude? like, why don't we go back to like those naming conventions? Like, those were sick. I'm not gonna lie. but also like just what like this is what you're doing these expeditions in. Like just look how bare bones these are, man.
Sail-bearing vessels, yeah.
Like and we use these up until like the 1930s in some cases. Some nations did, man. That's what's crazy about this. Like this technology, realistically speaking, is not that old. Like we got rid of it just before World War II, for Christ's sakes. Like it's kind of crazy to think that this technology existed 80 years ago and was still in use. You know,
the sheer beauty of those vessels, the craftsmanship and the thought that went into them at the time, you know, based on what they knew.
Oh, so much work
over the water.
So much work. These sails alone to make one of these sails was 200 people weaving for probably fucking a month straight, like to make one of these sails.
One fail.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're fucked. And you have to have spares. You have to, all this plank work. It's got to be exact. You got to fit that ship in each individual crack. You have to fit with fucking water resistance. It's
sealant.
Yeah, it's. And
I don't think like there will ever be a time, or at least in our lifetime, where sailing is an easy task.
No.
Like even now, it's still very complicated, and I don't know. I don't have experience on the ocean.
There is luxury class of sailing,
radar, and you have all these comforts, GPS navigation and stuff, but the weather.
Oh yeah, like the ocean is like the ultimate test, I suppose. Like, you know, like because you never know what to expect. A rogue wave could hit you, and you know, obviously modern ships are designed to hopefully counterbalance that, but
even 100 years later in the 1940s through the 1980s, like the disasters specifically, and, you know, maybe this can be a later topic, but in the Great Lakes of Canada, it's just a very rough environment.
Oh, the Great Lakes are
all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. So no matter what, your vessel is powered by sail or by triple expansion giant engines. Either way, like you get into the rough water and it's a struggle.
And I will say too, ships obviously designed to be in a way utilitarian, right? To suit a need. But during this time period too, the artistry of ship design, right? Like they made them to look good, to instill like you know, a look of majesty about them almost. That's why you had like the figureheads and shit on the front of ships, right? It was just
a transition to purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Like to pure purpose utilitarian built ships, right? It's just interesting to see because like,
and it's not just naval. It's like aerospace and automobiles. The same exact thing.
Yeah.
You get with airplanes, you get with cars. You know, you look back at the early designs and gorgeous passion.
Yeah.
And it starts to transition to the same idea, but also how much more efficient can we make it?
Yeah.
And then you start to see influences. So it's really cool to see all the, you know, some of the first just, you know, designs and architecture. Not the first, but as, you know, as new technology comes out, how they're utilizing it. And it's really interesting. Yeah.
No, I just love this design of ships. It would be awesome to like see how they worked back in the day. But let's keep moving here.
Similar size and armament. She participated in the War of 1812, even participating in the bombardment of Fort McHenry.
That's crazy.
Engagement in which Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. But in the 1830s, she was converted into an Arctic expedition vessel that would perform the journey. The ships were retrofitted with the latest technology. They were outfitted with a locomotive steam engine connected to a brass screw, making them the first ships of the Royal Navy propelled by this method.
That's insane.
They were 25 horsepower
retrofitted
and could move the ship along
25 horse.
On top of that, the brass screws were housed in a well that could allow it to be decoupled and pulled inside the hull to protect it from ice.
Wow.
The steam system was also piped through the ships in ducts, essentially creating some of the first central heating. A desalination process was used to provide fresh water for the crew. The ship's hull was heavily reinforced. Iron plates were fitted to the bow and waist to protect it from ice damage.
What innovation, though? Like straight up.
Doubled.
We were literally
as
just
well as
talking
having
about
diagonal cross planks fitted for more structural integrity.
And like this is a weird ship because it's like the middle ground between like sailing and it's literally a ship a sailing ship retrofitted to have an engine in it, and essentially, like, that's so insane. Like the
like
purpose.
All this new technology that in 10 years we're gonna build boats around. Well, we can just put it into this one. Yeah,
we're just gonna like see how it works with this. Like this is a prototype design almost, is what this is. That's crazy to see. It's almost but these are the first 2 ships done like this, which also means that this expedition is almost their test.
2 expeditions,
which is kind of crazy, but isn't that like they're not even trying it in the field? It's like, fuck it, we just did it, let's go give it a shot now. Like, you know what I mean? Craziness.
As well as having diagonal cross planks fitted for more structural integrity. The ships were essentially the space shuttles of their time. The latest and greatest technology with the sole purpose of Arctic expeditions. The ships were supplied for a 3-year journey. On board each ship were 2 tons of tobacco, 7,560 liters of liquor, and the ship's libraries were stocked with 1,200 books.
Wow.
But of the greatest advantages owed to new technology, each ship were stowed with 8,000 cans of preserved food. They had everything needed for a 3-year journey and could last up to 5 years with strict rations.
Revolutionary too at the time, like you have to say.
So, on the 19th of May, 1845,
and I have to say too, even the credence of like canning your food, that alone propelled like shipcraft by so much, because now suddenly you don't have to like rely on literally moldy biscuits, hardened moldy biscuits to like keep you alive, you know? It's just one of those things where it's like oh, holy shit, like why, like such a simple concept, like just preserving food, you know, you wouldn't think it applies so much to other aspects other than obviously eating, but in terms of exploration, it was just so fucking kingly, man. Like it's kind of insane to see, you know?
So on the 19th of May, 1845, the 2 ships departed Greenhithe, Kent. They made a stop in Greenland and offloaded 5 men who had fallen too ill to continue the journey. They departed and were seen by European fishermen in Baffin Bay on the 28th of July, 1845. This was the last time the expedition was seen by Europeans.
Wow.
Entering the Arctic, every single of the 129 men aboard Erebus and Terror perished.
Wow.
After 3 years and many requests by Lady Jane Franklin, John Franklin's wife, a search was launched. An investigation was started that wouldn't locate the ships for nearly 170 years. Piecing together clues.
Isn't that crazy?
We can put together an incomplete story of what might have happened to the expedition. The ships sailed until their first winter, where they found a protective cove near Beachy Island. They wintered here, pulling down the ship's top masts, putting up a canvas cover for the top decks, and shoveling snow against the sides of the ship to insulate them. Spirits were probably high during this first winter. They had made good speed. And
isn't that so insane? Like, I could not imagine, like, you know, like purposefully grounding your ship like that to winter in position because like it's freezing around, like the waters are literally fucking frozen around you. You know what I mean?
Supposedly they had no choice.
Well, they don't have a choice, obviously. Like this comes with the territory, but like even the concept of this is what you have to do before you go out there and do it, you know? Like, isn't that insane to think about? Like the bravery that this would take, you know what I mean? To know that we're going to be stuck here and we're going to have to just slug it out.
Insane is a good word.
Like, yeah, man, I don't know. It's something else to me. Like, this looks insane.
Probably high during this first winter. They had made good speed and all their reserves were high. They would busy themselves with hunting and possibly sports on the ice. Unfortunately, though, in that first winter, 3 men died. If you're sensitive to unsettling images, please skip ahead. I'll provide a timestamp for you to skip to. When the bodies were exhumed in the 80s, it was determined that the 3 men most likely died from tuberculosis. Their bodies would remain remarkably preserved for over a century. But soon the spring thaw released the ships, who continued onwards. In 1846, they reached a sort of fork in the road. After passing down Peel Sound, they reached King William Inlet, and were faced with a choice. Head west, over the inlet, and hopefully get through the sound before winter. Or head south, on the hopes that King William Inlet was indeed King William Island. They didn't know that it was in fact an island, but they didn't want to risk it either. They headed west, right into a crossroads where several channels emptied into. They became stuck in pack ice off King William Island on the 12th of September, 1846, and readied for a winter on the ice. This winter...
Another winter.
Yeah.
Core samples of the ice later would show the winters of 1846 and on for a few years were the worst the Arctic had seen.
Oh.
The ice around King William would not thaw that summer. On the 28th of May in 1847, a sledge party was sent to shore on King William. They erected 2 cairns and left notes in each. The notes simply gave the ship's position, that Captain Franklin was commanding, and that it was all well. But things were only going to get worse from there. Just 2 weeks after this sledge expedition, Captain John Franklin died. The circumstances of his death remain yet unknown to this day.
Probably because he's fucking 80, dude. Like,
The winter kept the ship.
This is what I'm saying.
Refusing to thaw even into spring. They were running low on food.
Wait, so does that mean the Irishman is in charge now? Technically?
I suppose.
Yeah, isn't that some brutal fucking irony right there?
Yeah.
Goddamn. But, like, what do you do at this point? Like, you're literally stuck in pack
just
ice.
The stress of managing this, though.
Well, you're stuck on pack ice on a fucking island. Like, there's not even anybody around. I don't even think there's probably Inuit populations around here to help you. Like, there's nothing here.
I don't know about that, yeah.
Like, I doubt it. Like, even like, the Inuit populations, they're not, like, out there because like they can't be. There's nothing there, you know. They're still in places that make sense. This is literally on a fucking inlet on an island, man. Like, this is so fucking out there. Like, no one's even gonna think to look to you. It's easy to see how 100 years passed before anyone even like found like info of where they were or what happened to them, you know. Like, it's easy to see how they got so lost.
Refusing to thaw even into spring. They were running low on food, and the situation looked dire.
Yeah.
After 18 months in the pack ice, Captain Krieger, as acting commanding officer, made the decision to abandon ship and start walking out.
Wow.
On the 22nd of April, 1848, they abandoned ship, loaded their equipment onto sledges, and 104 men started to walk south across King William Island. Their goal was the Back River and a Canadian trading post 800 miles away.
Yeah. So like
5th of April.
So like just shy of 2,000 kilometers. Like, that's what I mean. They're fucking not close to anything at all, man. Like, that is so far. You know, the distance of like, that's like fucking like 3 days, 4 days straight of consecutive driving in a straight line to get there, man.
Yeah.
Like, nuts.
Reached the cairns and amended their notes. It's as follows. HM ships Terror and Erebus were deserted on the 22nd of April, 5 leagues north-northwest of this. Having been beset since 12th September 1846, the officers and crew, consisting of 105 souls under the command of Captain F.R.M. Crozier, landed here in latitude 69 degrees, 37 minutes, 42 seconds.
Do you think that's what the real note looks like?
Longitude 98 degrees, 41 minutes west.
I'm not sure.
This paper was found by Lieutenant Irving under the cairns supposed to have been built by Sir James Ross in 1831, 4 miles to the northward, where it had been deposited by the late Commander Gore in May-June 1847.
I think it's interesting looking. I think this is like either a copy of the real thing. Very interesting to see, like, not only obviously in English, but in all these other languages. Like, whoever finds this paper requested to forward it to the Secretary of the Admiralty in London. You know, like, this is like this is literally like an oh shit, like, help message. Like, that's what this is, because it's in other languages. It's not just meant for English people. It's meant for whoever the fuck finds this. Please, like, save our souls, like, is literally what this note is. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's kind of fucked up to see, you know?
Yeah.
Sir James Ross's pillar was not, however, been found, and the paper has been transferred to this position, which is that in which Sir John Ross' pillar was erected. Sir John Franklin died on the 11th June, 1847, and the total loss by deaths in the expedition has been to this date 9 officers and 15 men. Signed, James Fitzjames, Captain, HMS Erebus.
So that's like 10% of the expedition at that point.
Survived the march south. Later autopsies of the found bodies and testimonies from the Inuit people painted a grim picture. The men were starving and malnourished. The canned preserves they had brought on board were rushed. The company was awarded its contract to can 13,000 preserves in just 7 weeks before the expedition was to set sail. The process was rushed in many instances. The lead solder used to seal the cans leaked into the food, contaminating it. The food at times was not adequately cooked through, leading to botulism in the food. The pipes that were used in the water purification system were also lined with lead.
Fuck,
and the
dude.
lemon juice brought on board to fight scurvy likely had lost its potency by the 3rd year. The men set out pulling 8,000-pound sledges over ice and rock in freezing temperatures while weak from malnutrition and lead poisoning.
And their sledges, like this picture probably implies, it's literally probably their lifeboats. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Like, and the idea is if they have to fucking, like, if they're on an island, they got, well, and if they're on an island, they got to fucking use these to cross now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the balls. Like, what a bleak, like, again, I would never, at this time period, you would never catch me fucking going on an expedition like this. Like, this is just, it just seems like a death sentence on the offset of it, like, to me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's possible, but holy shit, the risk involved, man.
Many slowly dying from scurvy. They planned to walk 800 miles, while every last one was slowly dying from the cold and from lack of proper food. When one man fell, they tossed him into the back of the boat, only increasing the burden of the others bit by bit, until finally they would be left in a tent with some food, left with the empty promise that they would return for them once civilization was reached. When the native Inuit were interviewed, they stated that they had observed portions of the group that had resorted to cannibalism. When this was reported back to the Admiralty, it was downright refused. The Inuits were labeled liars and savages, stating British men would never have resorted to cannibalism. Their stories would not be confirmed until the 1980s, when bodies were found and appeared to have cut marks on the bones, and scorches where it was apparent that bone marrow was attempted to be extracted. In 1850, the Inuits found an abandoned ship. After climbing aboard, they found a few lone men dead in their bunks. A fire was still going on the stove, leaving them to believe that the last man couldn't have died much longer before the Inuit people arrived. It was confirmed to have been either the Erebus or the Terror by the description of the smokestack by the witnesses. This leads researchers to believe that a few men might have returned to the ships or were left on them to tend to them as the majority marched south. At some time during 1850, just 40 men were spotted traveling south on King William Island. By 1851, they spotted just 4 men. At some point between 1852 and possibly 1858, the Inuits spotted Captain Crozier and one other man heading southwards. Confirming his identity through photographs, this would have made Captain Crozier nearly 62 years old at this time, and meant that he had survived up to 12 years in the Arctic. But
what the fuck does that mean?
Member of the expedition. On the 31st of March, 1854, the Admiralty in England declared every member of the expedition deceased.
So I wonder, like, if they saw them, would, like, they just didn't make contact? Is that, like, the piece here?
I don't know.
Like, because I'm just this, like, the witnesses they interviewed, right? Like, how long after did they, like, interview these people? Do you think it was just like a stories passed on kind of thing, like years later? Or maybe maybe they interviewed people that were like 70 years old in like 1910 or 1920, you know what I mean? And they were just like, yeah, I fucking saw so-and-so, like, you know what I mean? Like out here in the wilderness, like fucking 30 years ago.
Well, I imagine you would remember every detail of every scenario where you saw another human that wasn't part of your family in the Arctic.
Like, yeah, it's just crazy how like contact wasn't made.
Some accuracy. I'm not saying there's not, but it's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
That guy survived 12 years in those conditions, and somebody's said, "Oh, I've seen him."
Yeah.
Like that's
and like after 12 years, like in the same vicinity, like you think they would have kept moving, right? Like it's just hard to, unless they couldn't. I don't know. Like I don't know the exact circumstances they were in, but 12 years, man, like that's a long time to be up there, and like it's just it seems like they would definitely not survive that long. I don't know, it's hard to say.
1854, the Admiralty in England declared every member of the expedition deceased. After finding the 2 cairns, the graves on Beachy, and testimony of the Inuit people, the investigation remained largely stagnant until the autopsies in the 1980s. Then finally, in 2014, almost 170 years later, the wreck of HMS Erebus was discovered. Sitting at the bottom of Wilmot and Crampton Bay, in 36 feet of water. In less than ideal conditions, the ship had deteriorated quite a bit. But just 2 years later, the HMS Terror had been found in, oddly enough, Terror Bay. It was in remarkably preserved conditions. Initial dives have brought up a wealth of artifacts. Further investigation of the hull was set to be performed in 2020, but were put on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
COVID with a K? Nice.
Unless logs or diaries are found in the massive stretch of Canada's Arctic. Oddly enough, the final link of the Northwest Passage would be found while attempting to rescue Sir John Franklin. But the legacy and mystery of it are still alive today. What secrets that can be found in the Hull of Terror are yet to be seen? Perhaps someday soon, we may know just a bit more of what happened to those 129 intrepid sailors who set out into the great unknown and were never seen again. Thanks for checking out the video. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the Franklin's Lost Expedition, go ahead and check out the TV series The Terror on AMC. It's based on the James novel 2007 of the same name. The settings in the ships and all the uniforms are actually very historically accurate, and it paints a very good picture of the expedition. It changes a few things in the fact that it's not just the cold that killed them, but also a spooky monster. But if you're into sort of monster flicks, it's very good. The historical accuracy, besides the monster, is very interesting to watch. I'd also like to thank all of you. This channel has grown by leaps and bounds. I'm honestly surprised by how much it's grown so quickly. So thank you so much. If you did enjoy this and you want to help out the channel, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And stay tuned. I hope to have another episode out every Sunday. So thank you very much, shipmates, and fair winds and following seas to you.
Wow. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Really done video.
Yeah,
informative.
The Lost Franklin Expedition by Maritime Horrors. Yeah, great content there. Again, I have seen a few other videos from this guy. I haven't seen this one. This was fantastic. I want to say that now. And what a completely fucked situation too. Like, what a... You know, like, again, I could not, like, you hear of shipwrecks, you hear of like thousands of people dying, but this just seems like horrific. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, like just the circumstances surrounding it, knowing, like, because I feel like when a shipwreck happens, the entire thing is over in a couple hours. You know what I mean? This is like, this is
12 years
of agony, like potentially years of agony and like death and watching your friends die and like, it just seems like that much more horrific to me, all things considered, even when compared to some of the other disasters you see. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. But yeah, no, I thought this was a great video. If you guys enjoyed, of course, leave a like, subscribe for more content from me, and of course, leave your recommendations down in the comments below. Let's show some love for Wet 10 again, you know. Hello, yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it was a good watch.
Yeah, it was a great watch. I mean, obviously, we might have to check out more of these in the future. But yeah, big thank you to all of our members, all of our Hastati and our Principes, Dagenhart, Fear, and Hobbit. I appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me to make more content for you guys every single day, of course. And with that, guys, this has been Centurion, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.